Oh, we are live, Dan.
All right, we're going
This should be the podcast, episode 30. I'm in
live from
my
Omicron
oh
Percy I-8.
yes, I'm actually in my Omicron FEMA bunker right now,
Yeah,
just hunkering down as best as we can. So
yeah.
it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine, I guess. That's as the song goes. Should
I've been fumigating, protecting myself from the Omicron.
Yeah, so this is like terror level threat orange or green or yellow or COVID threat Omicron. Is that what it is? Is that where we're at now? COVID threat. We're just gonna have a continuing gamut of threat levels that the
Yeah.
government soon we'll get them color coded and flashing things on our phone.
Yeah,
Just
it's really the
constantly keep
perfect.
us-
You
Yeah,
think
go
about
ahead.
it like, it used to in the old days. They were always trying to find a group of people that were the enemy,
Yeah.
but that has obvious problems because, like, you don't want to demonize a whole group of people, and I know people don't like that. But like, if you can, instead of scaring people about a group of people, you can scare them of a virus, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like that's the thing, and then you're justified in your hatred of another group of people because it's like it's not that they're bad, but they don't fear the virus as much as you do, right? So,
Yep.
and you can always, instead of having to come up with new people groups to be the enemies, you can just keep inventing new variations of the same virus. I mean, not that it's
Right.
invented, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, right. No, but like it's like I was just thinking about it today. It was like really reminiscent of all the terror threat stuff, which meant absolutely nothing to almost anybody on the planet.
Terror.
Yes, but like the threat levels, like 1 through 5, the color codings. I don't know. I don't even remember if they were. We were at perpetual orange, I believe.
Yeah. It's like when you go to the
Presumab-
beach, you go to the beach and they got the riptide level.
Well, I kind of know what those flags mean to some degree. Red is
Yeah.
bad, so usually if it's not red, you're fine. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
My parents definitely put the fear of God into me about rip currents when I was a kid. It's like, don't. I had this vision in my head that like, remember what's his name from Jaws, like the kid, and he's just like swimming. All of a sudden, he goes, he just gets yanked down. That's what I thought a rip current was. You're just gonna be like just paddling along, like minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, like you would just get
Sucks you
sucked
in.
out to sea, and you wake up, you're like, where am I? And then you see like a tanker go by, and you're like, anyway.
If you're lucky, jeez,
Yeah.
get pulled down into the under the sea world of
Yeah.
I don't know, some kind of Disney dystopic nightmare.
I thought the whole Omicron thing would make, if this was 2002, it would make for a great like Will Ferrell, George Bush sketch. You're
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? We're gonna keep out this Decepticon threat. Not gonna let it get in here. Anyway.
yeah. We were talking earlier though, like the Unicron thing. It really does sound straight up like friggin' it's the way it's presented is like this nemesis of a super planet transformer Decepticon thing you have to defeat.
Who was it who was talking the other day? I can't remember. It was one of those guys. Might have been Tim Pool or somebody. He was explaining like the reasonings behind Omicron, why they chose that.
I've heard this, yeah, because we're going down the Greek alphabet.
Right. So
And-
they didn't
and
want
they-
they didn't want the letter new because people would think that it's the new variant,
New
right?
threat, new variant.
Right. And they didn't want to use XI because that's the Chinese president's name or leader or whatever his name is.
Yeah, right.
They didn't
It's
want
not
that
for-
to encourage like xenophobia or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they had to go with Omicron.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's a explicit thing on whoever named it, or if that's just an assumption people are making. That's probably a fair assumption.
Well, they said something like Zai or Z, however you pronounce it, is like a very common last name.
Right.
Which that kind of actually makes sense. You know, like you wouldn't want to have like, the Johnson variant. Or like, it's like when they name hurricanes after people. Like.
Yeah.
But they didn't really think.
Oh wow. Yeah. No, that's true. Because the WHO names them, and they said
Who?
The WHO. Yeah. Who? What? You're right. They don't want it to be like akin to like the Wuhan virus.
China virus.
Bunch of
China.
freaking the China virus.
I guess we can't really. Yeah, I really wish that Kung Flu had stuck as a name. That would have been
Kung
funny.
Flu is so good. Dang. Who was it? I think it was Jeremy who came up with the name for a Chinese restaurant called Kung Food. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. It's so good. Yeah.
But you got to spell it like FUD.
Oh yeah. Kung Food. But yeah, it's crazy, man. They can't even we can't even name things anymore without trying to offend or without worrying about offending.
I want to know
people.
what the politics go on, like when the National Weather Service is naming hurricanes and stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that would be. I guarantee you, like some nerd meteorologist sitting in an office somewhere is like, oh, like we got the new report said, yeah, this one's gonna be a bad one. He's like, I know what to name it. He like names it after his like ex-girlfriend that he hates or something like that, or some popular chick that never talked to him in high school. He's like Esther.
Yeah.
Hurricane Esther.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to get to it's like a reverse hurricane naming. So like when it's an overactive season, after the alphabet goes through, they start going into the Greek alphabet. So now we're going to get through the Greek alphabet. We're going to be like the Allison variant, the Barry variant, the Charles variant. You're going to start picking random names.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be interesting.
This won't take long.
Maybe it'll be like a competition to be like, I discovered it first. You got to name it after me. You know what I mean? And so
See, that's yeah, right.
some scientist like Heisenberg or something like that. Then it becomes like a point of honor. It's like, actually, I discovered the 16th variant, and they named it after me.
What was the guy's name in Deep Impact? The comet's name? It was
Biederman.
Biederman? Is that what it was?
Yeah, you're talking about Elijah Wood's character? No.
Yeah, was it Biederman?
Yeah.
Yep. Biederman. That's a common name if I ever heard one. That's a good variant name, the Biederman variant.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is it's crazy, man. Like everyone's just jumping on top of it. It's like it goes.
Sidebar. What's going to happen when we get to
yeah.
the Omega variant?
Yeah.
Is that when the world ends?
Right, because that's the last alphabet, last letter in the Greek alphabet, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be like apocalypse, you know.
That's what
Charlton Heston driving around shooting zombies.
That's what the Mayans are trying to get at. They missed it. They should have
go ahead.
somehow done. Yeah, no, just what was I going to say? I don't remember. No, just the overreaction on this is breathtakingly strange. Like one word of a new variant, and like countries across the planet are shutting down travel to their airports with like no evidence that this is even a thing. In fact, the opposite of that, the person who discovered it's like, yeah, it's actually a pretty mild variant. If you get it, symptoms are pretty mild.
Yeah.
My God,
it was like
shut it down.
Johannesburg or something.
I think so. Yep. Yeah, it was in South Africa. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
like they don't have other problems to worry about in South Africa.
Well, they probably do. Whatever. They got sharks down there. Scary.
Yeah.
Get the sharks out of the water. Then talk to me about the COVID variants, South Africa.
I don't really know much about South Africa. My main
I don't either.
point of reference is that you ever see District 9?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not like that, but
the gods must be crazy. I feel like everything's like that.
Right. I forgot about that. I need to watch that.
That's a good movie.
Yeah,
that's a really good movie.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, but I remember thinking it was great.
I watched it in college in like a international business class or something. Like that, but somehow that tied into my college degree. I had to watch a movie, but it was fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a topic like random non sequitur movies you watched in college, and you're like, "This is my higher education."
Oh, I watched another one in the same class. Oh man, it was a really good movie. It was again an international business class. It was George Wendt. No, it was a car movie. George Wendt.
Cars.
Gung Ho. No, it's called Gung. Not George Wendt is it, but it's mostly Michael Keaton. Let me see if I
don't know this movie.
Oh, it's great. Oh nope, maybe not. I'll find it for you in a minute. But it's basically it's a movie about a domestic car company in like Detroit or something like that, and then it gets either bought out or becomes managed by a Japanese conglomerate. So all these Japanese guys come over as the management team in this American production plant, and hilarity and conflict ensues. So it's pretty good. It's actually really good. It's a good movie.
Related, did you see Ford v Ferrari?
No, I wanted to see that.
It's quite good. It's a classic like dad movie. You know what I mean? Because it's all about like, what's his name? Matt Damon plays this guy, plays Shelby, and then like there's all. It's about all the Ford guys trying to build a car that could beat a Ferrari in a race, and it's pretty cool. It's a typical dad movie, but it's good.
I did want to see that. I just never got a chance to. I'll put it on my list.
I would
There's
say
go ahead.
the most notable and strange experience I ever had watching a movie in college. I took like a film class, like I don't know, through like summer school to like fulfill a credit or whatever. It was a great class because I liked movies, and the guy was like, "Here's how you analyze stuff and go into like themes and all this symbolism and imagery, even in the most mundane of movies." So there's your typical stuff like watching like there's some like Japanese stuff, and then like Alfred Hitchcock and like kind of classic stuff. But then the guy made the decision to have us watch this movie Irreversible. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so. No.
It's by a French dude, and the shtick of the movie is that it's told in reverse order, kind of like Memento. So
or
like
that one Seinfeld episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Sorry. Speaking of cinematic achievements.
Yeah. So no, but the movie itself was like, all right, look, here's this narrative thing, and there's all these like long takes, but it's got this. It's brutal. Like there's like a couple of scenes of violence that you're just like, okay, please tell me that was a dummy. That just. And then there's a scene where Monica Bellucci gets like sexually assaulted in an alleyway, and it's like 15 minutes long. And so we're sitting there in class, like watching this thing. We're like,
what was it called again?
Irreversible. It's got some name actors in it. But I was like, this is the most uncomfortable. It wasn't even so much that it was a double whammy because it was uncomfortable to watch. Just even though it's acting. You're like, I don't want to watch this. But it was also that I'm sitting in a group of people. And so there's like,
right.
I'm like, what are we learning from this? Why are we spending class time watching this horrific? I don't know. It was.
Yeah, the whole thing with the.
I had a hard time appreciating the craft of that movie, but.
No, fair enough. But my whole class, it was just stupid. It was just like, cultures are different. You should know that if you're in international marketing. Like, okay, thank you. Let's watch 3 movies this semester and talk about them. This is that movie. This is what I was talking about.
Oh.
It's pretty good.
Oh, it's Ron Howard.
Oh.
I didn't know.
Look at that. Yeah, see, that's why it's good. And also, I just love this freaking... That's so good.
I need to rewatch that movie.
That's such a premise, man. Some guy in the African woods gets hit by a Coke bottle from a plane and then goes to find out where it came from. And he stumbles into...
now it's coming back to me. It's like this interesting little metaphor for like how... Like, I don't know, is it supposed to be saying like Western capitalist influence is what brings, right? Like almost like an invasive species because like they were living in harmony, and then when they were fighting over the Coke bottle, then they started to war, and they like ding, and then that whole scene.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Yeah,
vividly where the kid hits the other kid, and they makes this little cry sound.
Yeah, but yeah, then like the guy like tries like has to like assimilate a little bit when he gets into like the big city and like the urban areas and stuff.
Isn't there like a subplot about like some terrorists taking over or something like that? Or
good question. Maybe I don't know. There's more than there's a subplot in there that I'm missing. I've seen the movie like twice in my life, and whatever, we'll see it again. I liked it.
I remember I think Jeremy and I were hanging out at somebody's house, and it was a friend of ours had to watch Dr. Strangelove. Have you ever seen that? It's like and I remember them being like, this movie's dumb, and we're like, you shut your filthy mouth. This movie's amazing. And they were like having to watch it for school, and they were like, we were like, no, we'll explain to you why this movie's great.
Jeez, movies and classes. I don't know. There is one good way to ruin a movie, and it's to make like an assignment out of it. So I kind of get all that, but whatever. Everything was ruined in college for me. It was all stupid. Do you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was relatively stressless. So
yeah, me too. It was cool.
That's a win.
It was chill. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah. So I had an experiment in the does chocolate kill dogs theory.
Ah.
So when I came back and my mom had made a bunch of brownies and she put them in a Tupperware. And so I had them in this box with like some other stuff. And so like yesterday morning when I was getting ready to go to work, I like got all this stuff out of the car and I forgot that the brownies were sitting on top of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So I go and I work a whole day and I get back home. It's like 6:30. And right as I'm about to pull up, I'm like, did I put those brownies up? And so I get in the house and the dog's like jumping around. He's like, hey, you're home. And I'm like, did you eat the brownies? And he looks at me like, hmm? And I looked over and I see this Tupperware on the ground, like empty. And I'm like, there was like a dozen brownies in that thing.
Little bastard.
So I'm like, is he going to die or something like that? And I was like, oh, you stupid idiot. So I was like, so I had to let him outside to go pee. I was like, go outside. Ah, you stupid dog. And so he doesn't like it when I yell. So he like, oh, so he runs off. And so then I'm spending the next 5 hours thinking like, great. He's going to go off and like have a heart attack in the woods.
Oh, he's like a petulant teenager. He's like, oh, you don't love me? I don't want to.
You're not my dad.
Fine, if that's how it is, I'll just leave and see how you like it.
Yeah. So I was kind of stressing, feeling bad that like going through like all this stuff. Like the last thing I said to him was like, you stupid idiot. Like, and he's going to have a heart attack out in the cold, like in the woods. Like his last moments will be like, like thinking, I loved Dad and all I wanted to do was eat brownies. And
the last thing he said to me was, in a really mean tone.
And so then he showed up at like 11 p.m. Like I'm sitting there on the couch watching the show. And then like, he just comes up to the door and like nothing's wrong. So I think the danger of chocolate to dogs has been greatly exaggerated. Granted, he's large, but yeah. I mean, the guy ate like 8 brownies, like the entire box, and he's fine. So,
or maybe he was just out in the woods, like tripping balls, man, like just freaking out. Like, I've had so much chocolate.
And he's like talking to the other dogs. He's like, "You ever had any chocolate?"
Like 8 brownies. Bro.
Going over to the dumpsters, talking to the other dogs, and he's like, "Hey, man, you got any chocolate?"
Y'all got any chocolate? My dog can't handle anything outside of like the puppy chow brand we give her, or her stomach just goes haywire. But she's a puppy, so
yeah. No, Hector was that way.
She can't quite handle any other food.
I used to think that he had a very weak constitution because, like, it would seem like he would eat anything differently, but it would cause him immediate, like, just horrible poop problems. Yeah. But I've realized that I don't think it's anything to do with the actual. I think he can actually eat a lot. I think it's that his bowels are directly tied to his emotions and his heart. So it's like what happens is like if he eats something he wasn't supposed to do, I go bad dog, and then he takes that and he internalizes it, and then that gets his insides all turned around, and that's what makes him, or like if he does something bad, like he eats a shoe or whatever, and then I'll go out, go pee, when I come home. And so then he runs away and he's like, I gotta get some space. And then he goes and he eats trash or whatever. But if I just keep him happy, then he doesn't have problems.
He's just an emotional eater. I get it.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's pretty funny. That was very funny.
Okay, so Omicron.
Yeah. You scared? Terrified?
No.
Yep. Me neither.
I mean, we're 2 years to flatten the curve. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I wonder. I mean, I guess people are scared. No, I don't even think so. There's no way.
I don't know. I haven't really talked to anybody who's scared, but all I see about it is jokes.
Yeah, me too. But like the way the government, I mean, like the United States shut off flights from like 8 African countries, which isn't racist when a Democrat does it. Only when a Republican does it. But they're serious about it. Ooh. Don't let anybody in. Like Australia, there's a someone from Australia has it. They're like, how did someone from Australia get it? Australia's like under lock and key, baby. Hard lock and key, especially travel wise. So I think the virus is just gonna keep replicating and mutating and keep on happening. This is what's gonna happen. This is what we're doing. And
so far, none of these variants have been more deadly. Correct?
No, correct.
So they increase, like, it seems like natural selection is creating these viruses to withstand like to make them more transmissible, but the symptoms are not getting any worse.
Yes, and I heard that way early on in the talk about, when the vaccines were coming up. They're like, not as a direct result from the vaccine, but like as the vaccines are promulgated.
Oh yeah, that was Brett Weinstein said that.
Yeah, a bunch of people like really way before the actually started, way before the variants started happening. They're like, look, there's going to be variants, and it's the way of the way the natural selection thing is going to work. The variants aren't going to get more deadly because it kills the host, and then that variant dies.
It's just the way it goes.
Right, exactly. So like, Ebola has a really quick flashpoint, unless like for some reason there's 8 billion people crammed into a room. So like, because it kills the host insanely fast. So that's the way it is. So like the way the virus is going to replicate is because it's going to become transmittable but less deadly, and that's just how it is. You're going to walk around with it, and you're going to give it to somebody like the common cold, and that seems to be what's happening, which is an encouraging thing. Like, you think people would be like, okay, well, that's pretty good. I mean, because then you have less hospitalizations, less death. And even if the vaccines that you've had are not really guarding against the current variant, it doesn't really matter, because then now you're at the point where you got some antibodies. You can still fight off the vaccine a little bit. Fight off the virus a little bit. But, it seems like a win-win, because like eradication is not an option. I think we can now safely say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah. But then all the government officials just want to keep doing the same thing just to scare people and keep control. So that's my cynical take on that.
No,
portion.
I don't think that's cynical at all. I think that's a pretty clear. Anybody who's paying attention can see that that's what's happening.
Yeah. And I feel bad for people that are actually scared about this thing, when they hear variant, like their heart goes, oh no, a variant. Like, I guess, man, but if you're,
what kind of world were they living in before?
I don't know, a bubble, or just a nice ignorant, and I don't mean that in a negative way, just a blissfully ignorant world.
Well, I forget who was, it might have been Russell Brand or somebody who was saying the other day, it's like the virus is like a godsend in a way towards people who are already anxious. Mm-hmm. But they didn't, previous to this, they just thought they were just kind of neurotic and crazy, like, but now that they have a reason, it gives them like something, you know what I mean? Like, like somebody who's just angry at the world, and like they have like an anger thing. For them to have somebody they can pin all their anger on gives them like a purpose, right? And it makes them feel less crazy, because they're not. So with the anxiety, it's kind of the same thing. You got a lot of people, who are just, they got a certain level of neurosis about existence, and they panic, and they don't like anything that's risky. And, they're always afraid of some sort of calamity or disaster. And so this virus thing gives them an excuse to indulge their neurotic tendencies. The thing, like,
let's have people. A good thing? Like, godsend is a good thing, or?
Well, no. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying like,
okay.
It's like it's the same. It's a godsend to them in the same way that like government people who are like, how do we get people to just do what we say? Is like, aha.
No, yeah,
the virus was the best thing that ever happened to authoritarians.
Right. It just it's that the peg fits the hole. That just worked well for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
So as you see, like, I don't know. I'm sure that some sort of psychologist has some sort of thing where they talk about like how the population density and social media and all this stuff has sort of, and urbanization has enhanced all of our neurotic tendencies. You know what I mean? Sure. Where you're always comparing yourself against other people, and you're pushed up against all this stuff. The information is showing you all these viewpoints that are challenging and hard, and like the news cycle. You know about all the bad things that are happening in the world. So it's like, I wonder if people are always asking, like, are people overall happier now versus before? And I would argue probably not. Right? I mean, quality of life is certainly better, but like, do people feel happy? There's a lot of people who are just anxious and tired, and they're working 50 hours a week, and they're barely affording their studio apartment, and they're just kind of grinding through life. The COVID thing, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it makes them feel, it can give people a way to feel not crazy, right? Because if you're just going through life and everybody else is going through life, and you're like, I'm miserable. What's wrong with me? Like, you know what I mean?
We're all miserable. Yeah.
But then if you give something else, it's like, oh, well, that's why I'm miserable, right? I'd be feeling great if it wasn't for this thing, Right. So it's almost like there's a subconscious need to keep it going, right? Because
Oh
if it's
yeah,
like, if the pandemic ends, right, then all right, well, now you got to go out there and make something, like,
yeah. Back to you, man. Back to your regular scheduled neurosis that you have to deal with and figure out.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
and I say that not necessarily as judgment, because I see
sure.
myself in a lot of that, because I'm not the kind of person would be able to, like, I mean, most people who know me know they're like, yeah, Dan's not really the kind of person who goes out and starts things and makes stuff happen. Like, I have bad luck with coming up with ideas. I'm horrible at sales and advertising. So, like, I'm not saying that from a position of judgment. Like, I get it. But, it's kind of similar to the idea that, like, well, tangentially, like how the idea, like the media needs racism to be a big problem, right? And because, like, if we establish that, like, progress is being made and things are getting better, then it's like, oh well, now who are we going to be mad at,
Right.
So yeah, it's a similar kind of idea.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah, right. And I wouldn't knock on the people that feel that way. I mean, because there is this also this overarching media, and then whatever circles you run in and whatever echo chambers you listen to, you kind of feed your own. It's a really easy tendency for me to do. You feed your own biases,
Yeah.
and you feed your own your own mental state if you want to.
I
It's
mean,
very easy to
I
do.
noticed that already. I mean, like, with the, because I know the type of people that we tend to listen to. Like, if you don't catch yourself, say you're like working on a job or something and you're like by yourself, like listening to podcasts and people talking about that, you would think that, like, everything, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, for sure.
you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Nah, it's funny. I had a guy who was because I had a leak in my house like months and months ago. So we've had subcontractors in and out of here on the regular, and some dude noticed a mug I had, which is like a Steven Crowder mug. Like, I signed up to watch. I got like a Blaze subscription, so you could watch like Glenn Beck and some stuff, because whatever. I just did it for a
Is
year.
it one of those like liberal tears mugs or whatever? Or
No, it just says, what does it say? No, it just says Louder with Crowder. It just says the name of the show. It's
Oh.
yeah, but it is like that. Like, you subscribe and then you get like a mug,
right?
or you get a cup or a tumbler or something like that. And the guy saw it. He was just like, "Oh, you're a Steven Crowder fan." I was just like, "Oh yeah, I guess you could say that." I mean, I do have the mug, so I'm drinking coffee out of it. But like, every time he come over, he'd be like, he just wants to talk about the show. I was like, actually, I didn't really listen to it this week. I don't really know what's going on, but it was just funny. Like,
Yeah, it's like when a stranger finds out that you like a band, and
Yeah,
then that's
exactly.
the only thing they know about you.
and then like, I'd be up here working, like trying to get work done, because I have to be here while they're working. So I'm actually up here trying to be productive in my office. And the guy's like shouting down. He's like, "Do you see that thing that Kamala Harris said?" "Hey, Peter, man." I was like, "Oh, jeez."
That's
He's like,
funny.
turn it to Crowder. Do it, time mark, 2 hours and 5 minutes. I was like, "Oh, geez, buddy. Yeah, it's good, but I got things to do." But yeah, he was just like, "Oh, someone to talk to about something." He's just like, "I drive around and I listen to That's what made me think busy. I drive
Yeah.
around and I listen to these podcasts, and I just thought it was really I was like, "Look, man, you gotta explain to me. It's okay."
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a real danger, especially if you spend all your time around yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're just absorbing all of this information, accurate or inaccurate as it may be.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
you might say your family is not really a total safe space to get into this crazy stuff, because you got that one cousin or whatever who's like on the opposite. So you kind of have an agreement. No, we don't talk about this at dinners and stuff. And then like, your social circle, like you go to church and there's like two halves of this thing, you're like, all right. So you're like, once you find
the
somebody,
church
you're like,
one's
oh,
really
I
good.
can talk
Yeah.
about my favorite topics with this person.
Yeah, right. "Hello, stranger. Can we be friends?
Yeah.
I'm here to paint your house, but let's talk about the Rittenhouse
I've witnessed
verdict."
that at like at offices and stuff. Like, I'll go in and I'll be like working on somebody's computer, and then like the other person of the, like the 2-desk office, the other person that does listening to like Glenn Beck or something. I'm like, "Huh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
And then like I'll hear something, I'll kind of like chuckle about something, and then they'll like kind of latch onto me like, "Ooh, oh, you're on my team. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do." I'm just
Like, no,
hold
you
on.
misunderstood.
Pump
I was
the brakes
laughing.
here.
I didn't realize there was still racist around, and obviously you were racist, so that's why I just think it's hilarious. You got 3 viruses on your computer, sir.
That'll be $300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And gosh, I don't really ever listen to it like out loud. I usually have headphones on or something if I go to people's houses or whatever. If I go to someone's house and I'm like measuring a bunch of stuff and no one's there, it's like a construction zone, I'll listen to my
Yeah.
headphones. But he's just like, yeah, man, I gotta be careful. I don't like bring my, I'm just like listen to it, whatever I want when I'm in people's houses. I was like, no, you shouldn't. That's a bad idea. You don't want
Yeah.
to, that's a way to make things real weird, real quick. And it's funny,
Yeah.
and like I try not to judge or like prejudge these things, but I'm pretty sure I'm right because like I like 95% of the time I can go to someone's house and like I have no idea what anybody thinks within reason. And then like if they're like a super conservative person, they're gonna usually have a bunch of pro-America stuff everywhere.
You
And
can
they're
pretty
gonna
much
say
tell by
something.
casing the joint. You're like, all right, I think I
Oh,
got
yeah.
this vibe figured out.
Oh yeah, all day long. Or B, and this is just how it is right now. This is just what the line comes down. When someone calls, they're like, "Yep, come on over." Also, can I ask you, what is your vaccination status, and do you have a mask? Because I require a mask. I'm just like, "Yep, you got a mask."
All
I'm
right,
not
this is
telling
gonna
you
be one of those.
I'm not telling you my. I was like, I have a mask, and I'm happy to wear it. And then if they push again, I'm just like, I'm not comfortable sharing my medical information with you, but I'm happy to wear a mask. Can I still come over? They're like, okay, well then I'll wear my mask because that's what's required of us. I was like, okay, yep, I know where you're coming from. Don't worry about it. But I'm just here to measure a window. No big deal.
Nobody has asked me about the vaccine thing.
Really, it's happened to me a couple times.
That's interesting. I guess I don't really work. My numbers are lower. Like I tend to work for the same people over and over again. I have recurring clients or whatever. But like, I mean, I kind of carry a mask with me everywhere I go, just in case. If I got to go to stores and stuff, like because in Raleigh, Durham, you got to wear it to go inside the gas station. But like, I'll kind of like walk. If it's a place I've never been before, I kind of like, all right, I'm gonna feel this. I kind of like look in a window, like, are they wearing masks? Okay, no. But like some places, it's like everybody in the office all day long are just wearing masks, and I'm just like, really? Like, I walk down a hall, I look in, and I see somebody like sitting in a cubicle by himself in a 50-foot room wearing a mask.
Right. Yep. Yeah, no, that's like because that's. I mean, obviously, like you were down here for Thanksgiving. Like nobody around here is wearing a mask anywhere, inside, outside. Well, I mean, not nobody, but it's not required by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't think I saw one mask. I mean, my 48 hours I was in Carter.
It's pretty rare. Yeah. I see a few people. Gosh, most of the time I see them, they're driving in their car like by themselves. Just like that's so weird. I still don't understand that. But like you said, something like Durham. It was the same way. We went down to Wilmington in like August or something, and I think they had just started another. Like the county down there, like whatever that is, New Hanover or Hanover County, or I forget what county it was, having indoor mask mandates for restaurants and stuff. So we were right downtown looking for dinner, and every restaurant had the sign. But then like you'd look in or you'd like open the door and like the hostess had it, but like none of the patrons did. You're just like, okay, never mind. I'm not.
That's kind of how Durham is in most areas, with the exception of like certain kind of bougie downtown areas. You go into a Sheetz in Durham, like. People are like technically wearing masks, but it's like half of them are hanging off like this.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There's always one dude just blatantly not wearing one. The people in the staff are just kind of like, I just don't care at all. It's like,
yeah, I work at Sheetz, so we're not going to argue with this guy.
That's the attitude at most of the Durham places that I go.
I'm hoping not to get shot tonight at 3 a.m. or at like midday on Black Friday at the mall. Right? That was the mall? That's crazy.
Yeah, at South Point.
Yeah. That's a way to.
I love how they described it as two groups of people that knew each other, because you can't say the G word.
Oh, was it a gang thing?
Well, that's the word on the street, but I don't know if it's.
That's the scuttlebutt.
It was two groups of people who knew each other, and it's like one of the people who was shot was a 10-year-old kid who got hit by a ricochet, like an unrelated.
Gotcha. That sucks.
All right, well, keep it classy, Durham. I don't know.
Hey, it made national news. I saw it on a national headline somewhere. Or maybe it's just regional. Whatever. Wasn't the local news. Yeah, that's always weird, man. Where it's like, doesn't happen around here very often. But I remember in Greenville, man, like there'd be shootings randomly within like a quarter mile of my house at like the gas station or like Zaxby's or Food Lion. They're like, that's in the Food Lion shopping center I go to. I was like,
yeah,
this sucks. It's time to.
Yeah, there's areas of Durham like that. I mean,
yeah, but you wouldn't. But the mall, that South Point joint, I mean,
that was a little off-brand for South Point, that's for sure.
Right, because
if it was Northgate Mall, you'd be like, all right, that sounds like a Friday. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what, why is this on the news? I don't understand. But like, yeah, South Point is a whole different ball game.
Like the whole outdoor promenade and like the big, like the movie theater and the restaurants and the shops and the boutiques outside, the big
Right.
walkway, like that whole area. Yeah.
I assume it was in the mall. Yeah, I guess. I don't know exactly. But yeah, that's a little strange because like South Point is like Durham's Raleigh, you know? So
Okay.
yeah, that was strange. I would have expected it out of Northgate, but I'm surprised. Northgate
Durham's
closed a
Raleigh.
couple years ago. So there you go.
Okay. I don't think I've ever been there. So
You ever hear that Chris Rock bit about malls?
I don't think so.
It's not really something I can say in public, but it's you should look it up.
Text me later. All right. I'll find it later. That's
Yeah.
not something as a white person I could talk about here.
Yeah. It's not really something. Well, it's funny to go back and see like jokes that Chris Rock made on Saturday Night Live in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like would totally not fly like at all today, but yeah.
That goes for a lot of comedians or a lot of stuff that happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like the what was it? I don't know the girl's name. I would recognize her if I saw her, but like the It's Pat character, which became a movie. Just
Oh, I forgot about that.
that movie would be trashed as like just transphobic and like just insensitive to the LGBT community, and like it'd be a hate crime today if you made that
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, pretty much every Adam Sandler movie kind of rides
Yeah.
that line, you know?
It's true.
A lot of that
Until
stuff
it's gonna-
doesn't really age well in today's climate.
Well, I mean, yeah, in today, if that's what you're comparing it to, if that's your metric, yes. If you age it because it's funny, that's a whole other story. Still like it.
Yeah. Did you ever see that movie? Oh, what was that one that he did where he plays the diamond dealer? Hidden Uncut Gems, I think.
No, that's a newer one though, right?
Yeah, it was like on Netflix.
Yeah,
Really good.
I've seen a few of his Netflix movies. I haven't seen that one.
So he plays like a diamond dealer in like the middle of Midtown Manhattan or whatever. And it's I say this as a person who has watched a lot of horror and war and action movies. This is the most stressful movie I've ever seen.
Really?
Like, and it's just about him just wheeling and dealing. Like he owes money to this person, and he's trying to work out a deal with this guy over here, and everybody's like, and he's like, and his performance is great. Like, and then there's like a musical score that's like, it's like this kind of jazz thing I think going on, or it's like this weird abstract stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's a pretty good movie. Like
So it's a more dramatic movie. It's not a comedy.
It's not like a Happy Madison kind of joint at all, where he gets all his friends and Steve Buscemi shows up and stuff like that. It's a film, definitely, but his acting is great, and it's very stressful, and it's like, oh man, this is exhausting. It's like because you're like, yeah. Anyway, you should check it out.
Huh. I will. I got a bunch of movies to watch now. I got like 3 or 4 old movies and some new ones. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
I think I've been hearing good things about that Beatles documentary that Peter Jackson did.
Oh yeah, people
On,
keep talking about that.
Yeah, I don't really like the Beatles, but I'm interested.
I
in
don't
watching
dislike
that.
the Beatles.
Yeah, I'm in that camp where I don't really listen to the Beatles very often. I don't hate it when it comes on, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely appreciate the genius at work.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily what I want to put on when I'm,
Although it was never my moment,
I saw this video the other day. It was one of those YouTube things where it was like, it was help, but every time they say help, the pitch goes down one. So it starts out with like, help, I need somebody, help. And so it goes down, and they say that word like 50 times in the song. So by the end of the song, it's like, I don't know. For some reason, it was like hilarious to me. But then, like 2 days later, I woke up with that song in my head, like, and I was singing "Help" to myself, like while I couldn't get it out of my head, and I don't even really know the song that well. I don't know all the words or anything. It was just, it's a well written tune.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, right. I get it. Again, it just wasn't my thing, man. Like I wasn't around then. I didn't grow up listening to the Beatles.
Well, I was exposed to it a lot because my parents liked it, and then my sisters became teenagers and they rediscovered it. So like when I was a little kid, I heard the Beatles all the time.
Yeah,
But it didn't really grab me in the cojones, because the stuff you discover when you're 13 kind of sticks with you,
yeah.
right? So to me, I associate the Beatles with like childhood and like, the past, right? But then when I discovered rock music, I'm like, all right, well, this is my shit. So
Right. So like I tried to get into the Beatles, so I listened to it a few times to it. Like I try to thumb through some albums and like try to like really give it a good listen, like not just like do like the best of like, oh, here's like the 70 Beatles songs I know. I like try to listen to an album, but I just never get it. I can never get into it.
I don't think I really appreciated them because I think, listening to them in the 90s, you're like, I don't understand what's groundbreaking about this. It sounds like music with some interesting melodies. But I think it wasn't until I got to college and I was taking like music theory classes and the composition and like all this kind of stuff, and people would use examples from Beatles songs as a way of like, no, here's a really clever way that they did this. And you understand, like, I think putting it in the context of what everybody else was doing in 1962,
sure,
you're like, holy crap, they were way ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Like everybody else was just going doo wop ba doo wop ba doo wop ba doo. Like they were just everybody was doing 12-bar blues and doo wop stuff, and then they come out there and they're doing all these weird chord inversions and like stuff. It was really, it sounds kind of quaint by today's standards, but they just blew open a whole wide world of, Then they got that one song that's just all cellos, and then the weird backwards psychedelic stuff they were doing, like. They didn't give two shits about anybody else's conventions.
No, that's very true. Yeah. They dropped that pretense pretty quick, right? After their first album or two of like that uber poppy Beatles
But
stuff.
even when they were doing the poppy stuff, they were still ahead of everybody else.
Sure.
Like just some of the chord stuff they would do were like little substitutions and weird jazz things that like nobody had even attempted to do in a pop context. Mm-hmm. And then when they broke down that door, they're like, oh, wait, people can dig this? Oh, okay, cool. And then you got like the Beach Boys and then Hendrix shows up and Pink Floyd, and then all the floodgates opened.
And the Monkees. Well, actually, the Monkees were first. That big influence on the Beatles.
It's a quite unknown fact, actually.
Ooh, the Monkees.
Davy Jones actually gave Paul McCartney a bass lesson in 1955.
It's like one of my favorite Simpsons jokes. There, Marge is drawing like. I think she's like a kid and she's either drawing pictures of Ringo Starr and then like her sister say something about the Monkees and she's like, don't say something. It's like, don't talk bad about the Monkees. Like, he doesn't really sing. That's not even really his singing voice. She's like, stop. It's like, that's not Michael Naismith's real hat either. And she's like, stop. I think that's his name, Michael Naismith, whatever. Point being.
Oh, wait a minute. I think it might be that guy. I have a friend, a good friend, who, and I'm going to butcher this story because I can only tell the bullet points because it was very late at night when I was hearing the story and we were in a group. But I think it might have been Michael Naismith. He's the guitar player, maybe?
I think he was the bass player.
Something in the Monkees. Anyway.
He was either bass player or guitar player. He wasn't the drummer.
This friend of mine who's a lady, she was in college in like I think it was the 90s or something like that, and loves live music. Was going to shows and stuff. Went to see the Monkees or maybe his solo band, and like somehow got invited back onto the trailer, and then got put in a really awkward like Me Too kind of situation with this dude, and it was like, it was. I don't know if it was him. It might have been him. Nobody listens to this, so I don't think I'm outing anybody's private story, but like,
actually, I hope not.
Yeah.
He was a guitar player, by the way.
Yeah.
Or at least there's pictures of him playing guitar. This guy. Oh, that's not a picture of him with the hat on, though. I used to watch the Monkees, man, on Nickelodeon, like the Nick at Night stuff. Like when Nickelodeon didn't have 24/7 kids broadcasting, like they do Nick at Night. And like they would play the Monkees. I think they did Gilligan's Island, but the Monkees would come on. I would watch it when I was a kid. I liked it. They were always getting some wacky antics getting done.
So, speaking of the Beatles, like,
sure,
I was listening to this really interesting interview. This is probably not very interesting to you, but like this guy who like had a career as a voice actor, and he was telling all his whole life story, or whatever, and like. He was telling the story about like because he started out as a singer, like he wanted to be a rock singer and he could imitate other people, and he was doing bands and he was always like singing and recording in studios. And then while he was goofing off, he would do these voices of like random British people and stuff like that. And so this producer guy was like, hey, I got a need for voice talent over at this other studio. I'll put your name in there. So then the guy got into like doing voiceovers for like Disney theme parks and like doing characters and stuff like that. So he gets called in to read. It's back when they were making Animaniacs in like 92, 93 or whatever. And so he's supposed to read for this part of this one guy, like, well, he's crazy. Like, what's his name? His name's Wacko. And so he's like, they're like, I don't know. Like, there's no direction at all. So he just decides, well, what if he was British? And then the director person was like, okay, maybe he can be British. He's like, maybe make him sound like do one of your Beatles voices. He's like, well, which one? He's like, well, all of them. So he just made a combination of all the Beatles voices into one character. And that's where Wacko's voice came from. And so the story went to like his little reel was in a stack of tapes with like all these other tapes. And so Steven Spielberg is like flipping through them and like listening to them. And he's like, what's with the guy doing the Beatles voice? That's stupid. And they're like, I don't know. He just decided to do it. He was like, let's hire that guy. So that was like his big break was he just randomly decided to do a Beatles voice for no reason for this Animaniacs character. And so anyway, so he had like a long career doing voiceover stuff. But he always wanted to like do rock music. He has this like, this like 80s voice, that kind of like Real Men of Genius, like those kind of commercials. So like
those are great.
He did a cover album of a bunch of like classic 80s rock songs, like Here I Go Again and stuff like that. And so they put all this money. He was like it was be like a big break. He was going to be like kind of like a tribute act, like I don't know, playing like Branson, Missouri kind of places or whatever. But so the record company put all this money into it, and they made like a video and all this promotion and stuff, and then they got halted because one of the people that they covered sued them. He's like, "Well, you can't use our original recordings. Those recordings are copyrighted." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "That's my vocal track. You can't use that in the song." He's like, "Dude, that's me imitating you. I'm covering the song." I was like, no, that's me. That's me singing. So it was this whole legal battle where the guy literally thought that his re-recording was him singing.
Oh, wow.
That's how close he was. And so by the time all the dust settled on the legal battle, they had spent so much money, they were like, we're not going to recoup any costs. So they basically just kind of like gave up. They couldn't put the album out because it was like, yeah. So, the guy's doing fine. He's got a nice voice career, but it's like he did his job so well that he torpedoed the whole enterprise.
Like the whatever. It's like, wow, he sings so good. Just kick out the guy in the band because we don't like him anymore. Rock Sugar. Is that the name of his band?
That might be. Are you looking him up?
I am. Because I feel like this story rang a bell to me, but don't worry about it. I don't know. It's okay. I'm not gonna read a bunch of stuff while we're talking. Yeah, but yeah, that sounds. I'll check that out later.
It was on that YouTube channel, the Professor of Rock or whatever, that dude who like interviews people.
I don't even know what that is.
It's pretty cool. Anyway.
Cool. Good. Right on. That's always interesting. Yeah, it's funny how people get their career breaks, especially in like voice acting and regular acting and stuff like that.
I would love to get into voice acting. I've thought about doing it. Like just on a whim. Like put together a reel of like me doing various voices. Like this is my dramatic voice doing a,
just do
like,
some
Joe's car animation, like
no, just figure out a way to do some poorly animated videos and just make up some characters. Teen girl squad it up.
Yeah. Well, I was talking. Shayla was saying like she knows people who are like talent agents who like get calls for things. I'm like, I could put together like a voice acting reel. I'm like, look, I got a high voice I can do for excited stuff, a low dramatic voice, and then here's a couple of funny characters. Like I do an English person, and then like. It would be a great thing to like put on just to be able to say you did it like, well, what do you do? Like, well, I play guitar. I also do some voice acting on the side, like
here's my headshots that aren't really relevant for voice acting. But if you want to know what I look like while I'm doing my British,
it's like, have you played the new Call of Duty Revolutionary War? Well, the English general in that movie.
I'm that guy. Yeah, I know. You don't. It sounds distorted, like it's coming through, like over the radio. But like, that's you. Yeah. It's me. Hey, you get the credit. You get the credit. Your name's always there.
Yeah, that'd be a great story.
Springboard into other work.
Yeah. Well, that was like we were a few years ago. Like the band that we were in with the girl who I played with that moved to Nashville. Somehow her dad got some sort of hookup, and he was like, "Hey, are you guys free on Super Bowl Sunday? I'm like, I don't even watch football, so yeah, I'm free. I don't have anything to do. He's like, well, you might be playing a gig. I was like, well, what gig? He's like, I probably shouldn't tell you. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, is it near? He's like, it's not close. It's far. We would have to go somewhere. I'm like, well, what is the show? He's like, all right, I'm not to tell you this. Mike Ditka's having a Super Bowl party, and I'm trying to get us in. And so I'm like, hold up. I'm assuming this is in Chicago. So I don't know how you know anybody. And I think it was probably only a pipe dream, like somebody knows somebody who knows somebody kind of connection. But like the fact that he mentioned it, he was he was really excited to tell us, but didn't really want to because he didn't want to get us excited about it.
You got to get your ducks in a row first before you can start pushing those dominoes down. You know,
Yeah.
If you don't get the
I
band,
was like, I'd play that show for free just to be able to, for the rest of my life, I can be like, yeah, well, I played guitar at Mike Ditka's Super Bowl party.
Listen,
so there
man,
you go.
You don't just willy-nilly half-ass ask to play Mike Ditka's Super Bowl halftime show in his backyard. You better be ready to rock, like lined up, ready to roll.
Yeah. Well, we were a good band. I mean, we were great. So I feel like we would have done a good job. Yeah. But I would have had to like really sequester myself and be like, all right, I can't get caught in any football related conversations with anybody. He's like, so are you guys are all Panthers fans down there, right? And we're like, oh yeah, yeah.
You just come in dressed in like the
Cam Newton and
no, all you do is dress up like that one SNL sketch. They're all like, the Dub Bears. Just like walking there, just like
Ditka versus a hurricane.
Yeah,
yeah. Trick question. The
hurricane's named Ditka.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just another heart attack.
Yeah, that makes a baker's dozen for me, Bob.
That's a baker's dozen. Those are funny sketches that made no real sense because nobody cares about Mike Ditka, and it's funny just to make fun of Mike Ditka and people from Chicago.
Yeah,
I guess. Now it's whatever.
It's whatever.
Poor SNL. They're doing their thing.
They're trying. I don't know.
They're not doing it well, though. But also, I'm not very funny, so what do I know?
I thought about that when I was in New York last month, and this is like, a sidebar. You know how you have that friend who like some chick or whatever, like goes to Paris when they're like in college or whatever, and so every interesting story they have is like, yes, well, when I was in Paris, we had croissants that So like, I found myself in the last several weeks being like, every interesting story I have starts like, when I was in New York a month ago, I was No, but I really had this thought. Because I made a point of like, we were gonna go walk. I just wanted to see where Rockefeller Center was, and like the little NBC little logo and stuff, and just to say I was there. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, because it was like a Saturday morning. I'm like, somewhere up there, the Saturday Night Live cast is preparing a bunch of horribly average sketches. And they're all laughing at each other. And I was just looking up and like, what floor is that on? Is it on like the 50th floor? Like,
that's pretty funny.
And I look at that big statue of Atlas there. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. In that moment, I feel really just in tuned with all of 30 Rock, like the show. But either way, which I've started watching again because it's so freaking funny.
Yeah.
Can't get
it's a good show.
It never disappoints. Even with Alec Baldwin, still doesn't ruin it for me. Yeah. I'm just glad he didn't shoot anybody on that set. That would have been bad.
Too soon.
What? He'll be fine. He's probably not going to get in trouble. But maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I haven't followed any of that stuff. Yeah, he's got a lot of money. Many lawyers.
He's really underrated as an actor.
I like Alec Baldwin. What was that movie he did with Anthony Hopkins? Was it The Edge? The one with the bear?
Yes. Nobody else knows about that movie.
That movie's so good.
That is very good. I've been telling people about that movie for 20 years. They're like, all right, no, you don't understand. Alec Baldwin is sleeping with Anthony Hopkins' wife, okay? And then they crash, and there's a bear, and this other dude from Lost gets eaten by the bear, and people are like, what are you talking about? Like, no, trust me, it's a great movie.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Minus that one scene where the bear's charging, and like the CGI is awful.
Yeah,
because they had very good.
Well, so there's a whole story, like the bear in that movie is... there's like a famous bear, Bart the Bear, in Hollywood. It's like this one bear who's like every time you see a bear in a movie from like the 90s, it's the same bear. He like lives at some sort of habitat or whatever. And for whatever reason, he's really good at. They've trained him really well so that they need him to run towards the camera. They can do that, but they can't do that when there's like $1 million actors in front. So they have to do like a green screen or something. But
right.
Yeah,
that
Bart
was
the
only
Bear.
really
I think he's
terrible-
probably
yeah,
dead by now, but
probably so. But yeah, good. I'm glad you know that movie. That movie's really good.
yeah.
It's very intense.
I
Now you spoiled it right off the bat, but that's okay. That's okay.
What?
You
Well,
don't
I mean,
learn that he's sleeping with his wife till like towards the end of the movie.
No, that was in the setup.
Was it?
It's in the beginning because like there's these knowing glances, and they're flying, and then
eyes.
like literally like they're in the plane. It's like 15, 20 minutes in. Anthony Hopkins turns. He's like, so how long? I was like, he's asking him, it's like, are you planning to kill me? Or like and
that's
then
right.
before he
And
has
then
a
the
chance
plane-
to react, that's when the plane crashes.
Plane
And
goes
so there's
down,
this
yeah.
awkwardness in the rest of the movie. Yeah.
Right. The whole tension is he's got to stay alive with him. That's right. I forgot about that. For some reason, I thought it all came to head in like it does come to head in like a they end up fighting in like a cabin or something. But
Right. Yeah.
for some reason, I thought it all came out then. But whatever.
Yeah. I got to watch that again and see if it's Levi appropriate because that'd be a fun thriller to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you find it where it's at. If it's streaming anywhere, let me know. I'll probably have to rent it.
Yeah.
It's not like a high demand movie. I think I watched that. I watched that somewhere in high school. I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, I think it came out in like the late 90s.
Yeah. I don't remember. That was fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I know anybody who knows that movie. So I'm glad you knew it.
I watched
But
The
yeah,
Departed
either way-
the other day. That's another great Alec Baldwin performance where he's in the movie for like literally 10 minutes and he steals the entire thing.
But no, he's a really good actor, man. Like all the Clancy movies or the stuff he did. What was the one he was in?
Red October.
Yes. Is that a Clancy? Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. That not all the Clancy movies, but that one.
Jeremy's
And then,
rolling in his grave at this conversation.
Oh, whatever. Jeremy.
Actually.
Jeremy's got a microphone and a camera. It's an open invite.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I think it's because his comedic timing is so well. He's always kind of half joking, even when he's playing serious characters.
Yeah.
Like when he was in like Pearl Harbor and he's playing James Doolittle. He's like, there's nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer. And it's just like, are we supposed to laugh at this? Because it's like, because like the two characters are from Tennessee. It's like this joke. I don't know.
Right. But he's really good in Beetlejuice. Halloween favorite of ours. We watch that like every year.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Oh well, what are you gonna do? All right, I have a sinus headache, and it's almost an hour. I think I'm gonna call it.
I had one of those a few days ago.
It's been hitting me for like 2 days. I took some medicine earlier, so
yeah,
I
had got screwed up when I would go to sleep fine, then I'd wake up at like 2 a.m, like coughing like a madman. So then I would take NyQuil, but then I wouldn't be able to wake up. And it was
NyQuil jacks me up, dude. I can't. I mean, I can, but I don't want to. It's like my last resort. I'm sleeping okay. It's just like I have this major like pressure right in my bridge of my nose. It hurts.
Yeah.
Maybe got the COVID. Maybe it's Omicron. Percy, I ate. Wait, do it. Yo.
Omicron. You will bow before Omicron.
Hopefully I'm patient 0 in the US for Omicron. That'd be cool.
Patient 0. It's only a matter of time till the Omega variant.
It's not scary enough. I need a darker voice. Do more bowels of hell for the Omega.
I don't know how to do that.
Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out by the time we get to the Omega variant.
We'll circle back on that one and have a good scary voice primed up for the Omega variant.
Yeah, we got about a year and a half before we figure all that out. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna hit the outro.
Cool.
Yo. Brr. Brr.
You know what they say? Men are from Omicron Persei 7 and women are from Omicron Persei 5.
This jerk chicken is good. I think I'll have fries lower horn jerked.
Bring me another hippie.
My hands are so huge. They can touch anything but themselves.